Hi, this is Stephen at Biketown, and today I've got a really short video about how to eliminate brake rub if you have hydraulic disc brakes. If you've ever had your brakes rubbing, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That really annoying noise when your wheel's spinning and your brake pads are constantly coming into contact with the rotor, the disc rotor. There are a few issues that might be causing this, so let's take a quick look at the diagnosis process and then we can move on to caliper alignment. The tools you're going to need for the job are Allen keys, so usually a 5mm Allen key for the caliper. You're going to need a torch, or you can use the torch setting on your phone. And you're going to need a bike repair stand or a way of getting your bike up off the ground so that you can spin your wheel freely. First, give your wheel a spin to check the gaps between the rotor and the brake pads. This is where your torch will come in handy to backlight and make it easier to see. At this point, it's a really good idea to just kind of visually inspect your brake pads and make sure there's still adequate compound on the pads and that they're not worn and they don't need replaced. A very slight rub with kind of minimal noise is quite common with disc brakes and not a great cause for concern. You might be willing to put up with this mild annoyance and just continue riding your bike. If your brake rub is significant, then there could be a number of causes. First thing to check is your wheel alignment. So correctly reseating your wheel so that it's centered might eliminate your problem. So wheel alignment is the first thing that you want to check. Next thing to check is your rotor. A bent rotor will show a lot of lateral movement, making alignment difficult or impossible. Rotor replacement might be your option at this stage, but truing your rotor is also an option depending on the extent of the damage. Next, we can check any play in the rotor. If any of these bolts have come loose or the rotor's not been tightened up correctly, then a loose rotor will cause you brake rub. And then the final thing to check would be the hub itself, so any play in the hub. So if you want to grab your wheel and move it side to side and just check that the hub doesn't actually need any adjustment. So if you've gone through the whole process, your brakes are still rubbing, then you want to move on to aligning the caliper. It's a really simple process, and it's the same process for your front and your rear caliper. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Allen key to loosen the caliper all the way off. So we want to loosen it to the point that the caliper can move freely. Once it's loose, we're going to hold the corresponding brake lever. We're going to pull the brake, and what this does is it centres the caliper over the rotor. And then once it's centred, we simply snug the bolts up again. Release the lever and give the wheel a spin. If your rub is gone, then your caliper is aligned and away you go. If you're still experiencing a little bit of rub, then there's a little bit of fine tuning that we can do. To fine tune, you would loosen one of the bolts at a time, and then you would move the caliper so that the gap is equal on either side of the rotor. And it's just a case of one at a time, and then just moving your caliper and trying to centre the rotor. A wee bit of trial and error. Sometimes it's actually easier to do this while the wheel's spinning, but be very careful with your fingers. That sounds about right. So that's it, that's how simple it is. You're basically loosening off the calipers, pulling your brake lever so that the caliper is recentered, and then you're snugging up your bolts again. Once you've eliminated your rub, you need to tighten your bolts up to the correct torque that they should be at, and then your alignment process is done. Hopefully that eliminates your rub and you can go out on your bike. So that's it. Dead simple, a really quick video showing you how to diagnose what's causing your brake rubbing and how to align your calipers if you have hydraulic disc brakes. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.